Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner. Welcome, everyone. Let's do another one. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner, where we share very, very powerful information and material every Sunday. And this one, we're kind of having continuation from last Sunday. Basically, we're talking about the book "Feeling Is the Secret" by Neville Goddard. And wow, is it short book, but packed with some beautiful material to help you basically create whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you desire. So, notice it's just Alicia and I today. We may have another coach joining us, but we're always here to serve you and help you. And big shout out to Lou and Paul as well. So, my name is Jamel Matias. I'm a certified mindset success coach / business consultant. And my purpose is to reveal the hidden potential that's already within you and guide you to your truest desires. I'm in the Maryland area. Obviously, for a lot of people in the States, there's a big snowstorm that covered half the country on the east side. So I'm looking at some beautiful new snow right now. But basically, I help individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners just achieve higher milestones in their life, personally and professionally. And just like my colleague here as well, trained by the legend, late great Bob Proctor as well. So looking forward to sharing this, Alicia, my amazing colleague, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you, Janelle.
You're welcome.
My name is Alicia Spinoza, and I am in Sweden. And I help people to align their values with their dreams so that they can create a life that they feels good on the inside and not just great from the outside. And also I help leaders to be leaders worth following. And this is my biggest mission is more to get people to be more in alignment with their values, because when we live from our values, oh boy, the lives change. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. This is going to be so nice. Have to get the energy up for everybody. And speaking of energy, feel free to engage if you're watching this live, drop some comments, and also, feel free to reach out to us if anything shared here really spoke to you today. And don't be shy. We're human beings, as you can tell, and we love meeting new people and helping people, of course, with this knowledge. So, wow, we're kind of continuing, from last week. And there's a second chapter in this book called Sleep. And what that is, it's something we all do, right? I think it's 1/3 of our entire life we're sleeping. So that gives you a huge opportunity to be mindful of what you have in your conscious mind when you go to sleep. Be mindful of the state that you fall asleep in and how powerful sleep is, because we have like our whole life. We sleep to replenish and rejuvenate physically, mentally and emotionally, but also it gives us the ability to create things. And all of us have this, and it's so, so, so important to understand. So, hello, everybody. I see a lot of people on YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Oh, by the way, a big announcement. I just hit 100 subscribers. So, thank you for everyone that helped me hit that milestone. And I
That's
think
good.
thank you. Thank you, Alicia. And I think it was 20,000 views too. So, it's a huge milestone for me where I didn't think, I wasn't really focused on growing that fast. So, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So to help you and everyone watching, um, he says here, like right at the beginning of the chapter, which is beautiful, he says, once you're asleep, and it's important to pay attention, right, before you go to sleep. I didn't know this. He says, once asleep, man has no freedom of choice. Man or woman has no freedom of choice. And your entire slumber is dominated by your last waking concept of self. It follows, therefore, that you should always assume the feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction before you retire in sleep. That was huge. And I know a lot of people can relate to that, where you look at your day and you're just kind of stuck on what happened for the day, right? Hello. Hi. So when you're stuck on the negative aspect and you're allowing like maybe some bad things happen that day and you're taking that into your sleep, you're actually recreating things to match that frequency. And this is such a great reminder, because this is something I'm currently working on. I'm developing even more. What is your last waking concept of yourself? Who really operates like that? Right? Elisa, did you want to take the pass?
Yeah, I what it strike to me when you say the concept of yourself, because it's so important what the concept of ourself, because our ego will defend the concept that we have about ourselves, and the I am, whatever is coming after the I am, is so powerful that it becomes the concept of ourself. And then when we go to sleep and we have that concept of ourself, it will be more stronger, because if we in the conscious mind all the time say, oh, I am this, or I am this, oh, I'm such a fool, or oh, I am a dumb, sometimes we say that without even thinking about that. But the problem is that our subconscious mind is listening all the time, is listening. And then it will be like, like it will be like the really the concept from about yourself. So that is very, very important. And also I have many times, many years, I could not sleep because my head was all the time like, um, all the time it was like, thinking about, oh, I should have been do this and should be do that. And then I learned how to just clean my mind during the before to sleep, so that I could just, start to create another concept about myself. So it's very, very important to think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting when you're sharing that. It's like there's two versions we can choose, right? There's always a choice. And without awareness of what you're thinking, we usually fall upon what we see with our eyes, or what happened throughout the day, or, we just take our day that we had into our sleep. And I've done that majority of my life. And I know I'm not alone here, with pretty much majority of people walking this planet. So this should be a really powerful awakening, right? And it's funny I say that, because there was something in my meditation. They say, one of my teachers, meditation teachers, Andy, he said, there's those that when they're awake, they're actually asleep. If their eyes are open, they're actually asleep. But when your eyes are closed, you can be more awake. And I was like, wow, that really spoke to me, because how many times, and who can relate, where we're going through our day, going through life or whatever, and we're not really focused on who we're being, right? And I was just talking to someone about this, one of my clients yesterday. I said, I'm being more rather than doing more. So the question is who are you being, especially when falling to sleep? And Neville says here, he says the subconscious never sleeps. It never sleeps, just like Alicia is mentioning, right? It always receives what you give it. So what do you focus on in your conscious mind? He says sleep is the door through which the conscious waking mind passes to be creatively joined to the subconscious. Wow. So sleep is a doorway. Mm-hmm. When you take your conscious concept of yourself into your sleep. So what are you aware of? Are you like taking a negative energy or allowing what you see and experience to create your tomorrows? And I remember Bob saying that, it's a perpetual cycle of doom, right? Expecting something different or things to get a little bit better or whatever, but you're not aware of these things that you're taking into your sleep. So, and this is why, mentorship's important too, because now you're learning how to apply it consistently, and not only by yourself, you're with people that, do this continuously. And it's all about getting an understanding first. So I love that when he says it's all about, sleep is the door through which the conscious waking mind passes to be creatively joined. And I love how he was sharing how it's like the male female aspect. And he said your consciousness, everything that happens in your life are children born of what you created. And I was like, wow, I never heard anyone say it like that. So yeah, Alicia.
No, yeah, I was also like, oh wow, I love metaphors and so. And when I read that, it's like, yeah, this is so true. Is that and you talk about meditation, and I think that to meditate before going to sleep is very, very, very good. I normally practice vipassana meditation, that is from the Buddha teachings. And there with the meditation, it's like you are scanning your body, and also learning in that everything is like nor bad or nor good, it just is. And this is very good because when we go through the day, at the end of the day, and sometimes we say, yeah, but this happened, it was bad, and this, we set a etiquette about like this is bad and this is good, but we don't know about that. We just know that something happened, and with our senses, we categorize them as good or bad. But we don't know, maybe 2 years after, that just when I categorize it as bad was a good thing for me. Only that I just not recognize that at the moment. And it's that when we go to sleep and we are so attached to what we have categorized the things, then we are starting to feeling bad if we categorize the things as bad. Instead to say, okay, this happened, I did this way, this time, because with my knowledge, my resources, my awareness, this is how I could do that. And just be gentle to ourselves, that if I could know better, I will do better. So, and it's just coming back to about the concept about ourselves. That is very important, I believe, before we go to sleep, so that, yeah, where we put the energy.
Yeah, I love that. I'm giving you applause. I love that. So beautifully shared. And guess who's tuning in? Hi, Lou. Says, good morning,
Hi,
guys.
Lou.
She is on the beach. I love it. I love it. And may this connect with your energy as well on the beach. That is so amazing. And she was saying so true, Alicia. Yeah. You should definitely, I love how you shared that. Be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
You really should. And it's interesting you say that because I'm incorporating more positive affirmations for myself. I'm proud of you. I believe in you. I say it right in the mirror, or I'll say I'm proud of myself. I believe in myself. So this is really self work. Mentorship is, of course, you have a guide, but you want to throughout your day really, really apply this material because it's your life, and you're not alone, but you'll always have you. And the question is, are you creating the life that you want with everything that you know? And that's the knowing doing gap, right? Where you have all this knowledge, tons of knowledge, but you're not doing what you know you should be doing to improve yourself in your future. And it's so important, but be gentle, because I was the type that was very aggressive towards myself. I'm like, oh, you didn't do that. You didn't do that today. And you said you were going to do it and you didn't do that. And guess what? I'm taking that into sleep. Imagine that, right? And I know this should speak to somebody. Don't do that, because you're creating what you don't want. And I had to make some adjustments because I don't want to consistently create. And he says, sleep conceals the creative act while the objective world reveals it. I love that. Sleep conceals the creative act. So the creative act is your assumption of yourself. What are you assuming, like your concept, right? And the objective world reveals it. So your next day or week will start to reveal what you've been going to sleep feeling. And Alicia said, feel. That's the title. Feeling is the secret, right? So the subconscious mind communicates through feeling. It really does. How do you feel about yourself and what you accomplish? This is where you make believe, right? There's something called revision. It's not in this chapter, but I know Neville talks about basically rewriting things that didn't go so well to the way you want. You can do that. It's called pruning shears of revision. That's a different way of changing things that may have happened throughout the day. But the bottom line is you want to be conscious of who you are and the feeling of the wish fulfilled when you go to sleep. And I wanted to share this beautiful, he had like a short story here. He says, by night on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loveth. I found him whom my soul loveth. And I helped him, and I not let him go until I had brought him into my mother's house and into the chamber of her that conceived me. So basically, it was a beautiful little story of basically bringing in the thoughts that they wanted and gave birth to the reality. So it's kind of like a love story between conscious and subconscious. And my soul love it. My soul is the subconscious, right? And it was so beautiful how you put that in there. And the conceived part is your reality, what you created from what you basically impressed in your subconscious mind when you go to sleep. It was cleverly done, and I just wanted to share that little part there. Alicia?
It's beautiful. Yeah, it is so beautiful. I came to the when you say about affirmation, it's just like because I met some people that say, "Oh, but I don't believe in affirmation." Okay, so you don't believe in affirmation, but every 3 seconds you say, I'm so dumb, or I'm this, or I'm that. That is not good enough. So you are bullying yourself all the time. And the subconscious mind this is an affirmation. Even if it's negative, it's an affirmation that you are telling you all the time. And sometimes when you start with the positive affirmation that I am capable, I can do this, I am great, I am fantastic. The subconscious mind, because you have been bullying yourself so many times, it will be a shock to the subconscious mind that is saying, no, 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 you are dumb and you are this and you are that, and sometimes there are people that the affirmation is not working for them at the time. However, I ask my client to to do affirmation. And affirmation is asking yourself questions, because our brain, and we are like Google. When you type a question, you get an answer. But if you type a questions that are bad, then you will get answers that are not so good. So you need to ask yourself better questions. And instead of saying, so I am fantastic, and your subconscious reject that, or your conscious mind also reject that, then you can ask yourself, why I'm so fantastic, why I'm so great, why I'm so action taker. And the brain started to, yeah, but you did this and you did that, and check. But if you ask yourself, oh, why I'm so dumb, yeah, it will come with so many why you are so dumb. So it's good to, if the affirmation is not working for you, test the affirmation that are questions, good questions. So that is one of the things that I was thinking about. And also about the you say about doing, taking action, because somebody asked me, yeah, but I'm thinking so positive, and so, but nothing is happening. Yeah, okay. Have you taken action? Are you taking action of whatever the ideas you come, or what your soul is telling you to do? And it will be like, no, okay, it will not. Because if you are not doing things, nothing will happen either. So you need to marry the feelings and also the taking actions.
So good. So good. Yeah, I love that. You're going deeper with affirmations if they're not really feeling it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
By using why. Like, why am
mm,
I awesome, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
now you have like a guide telling you, confirming why, right? So that's so good. And
yeah,
that's a train of thought. That's so
yeah,
good. And um, the other part you mentioned was so powerful. Wow, so good. So, Neville also shares that never go to sleep, feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. It's really, if you can make that a big quote or whatever, never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. Never. It's a thing that you do not want to do. And I'll be honest, I've done that multiple times, right? He says, never sleep in the consciousness of failure. Wow. How many people go to sleep and allow, feel discouraged and dissatisfied with the day or whatever results? And when Alicia was speaking about that, how we feel like things aren't happening, here it comes. Here's a good quote for you. I'll get my applause ready. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It really isn't. So what that means is things are working for you. You just don't see them yet. And that's faith, and that's knowing. But also, you have to take action, and not just uninspired action. There's something called inspired action. And I have two new affirmations I've been adapting as well. I act to receive, and I'm on the frequency of receiving. Two big ones I say over and over. And guess what? I am. I don't act just to do it because I got to do this. No, I'm acting to receive. And when I remind myself that, I'm able to create differently. So he also shares here, he calleth things that are not seen as though they were, and the unseen becomes seen. So that's like being grateful in advance. I'm so happy and grateful now that, right? And you're really matching that frequency and you're really connecting with that frequency. And you are calling things not seen as though they were, meaning you can't see them, you can't touch them, but you know they're here. And this actually connects with energy, how it's never created or destroyed. It's just it's in one form or another. So the person or whatever material thing that you desire is waiting on you to connect with that frequency. So this is important because we're talking about sleep. Now you can utilize this gateway to the subconscious consistently to create things that you want. And you can start small too. You don't have to think of something really big. This works all the time, which is beautiful. And it's a gift that we all been given if you're open to receive it. Alicia?
Yeah, I was thinking about the faith that you talk about, and you have in your signature believing in the unseen. And it's because I think that sometimes when we don't see, we cannot see how things are going to happen, how we are going to reach that goal. And so then we lose the faith. And then we go and sleep, and then it's discouraged at, oh, it didn't happen today either. Instead of saying, okay, I taking the inspired actions, not the I must action. Because if you have a goal and you hear yourself saying to yourself, oh, I must do this, I should do this, and I ought to do this, that are not inspiring actions. It's like something that is from the outside. And then, oh, I should be doing that. And then you don't like that, you don't feel that. And it's why it's important that your goals and dreams are in alignment with your values, because when you connect them with your values, then you will know that taking action is the step, and feeling as the wish fulfilled. And the ideas will come, like do this and do this, but then it's like taking action, because if you get an idea and you're so inspiring to do that, but then you let the fear of something stop you, then the universe say, it says that this person is not so serious about their dreams, and then everything disappear. So it needs to be this faith that you are moving, and especially who you are being to get where you want to be. So it's like, is yeah. And also I like your affirmations, very, very good.
Thank you.
So it's good to have affirmations that empower you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, thank you, Alicia. Yeah, it's interesting as you grow, you see differently. And I knew those two affirmations would really help me with action, right? Um, and speaking of action, you mentioned, if you don't see things happening, that reminds me of where, the senses, you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. But when you don't see certain things, the eyes can be a gift and a curse, right? They're a
Yeah.
gift because obviously you can see beauty in the world and other people and your loved ones as well, everything, right? And northern lights as well, right? At least you can see with
Yeah.
your eyes. But at the same time, the curse is you believe that's all that's there, right?
Yeah.
So when you understand that the eyes are a gift, and a curse at the same time, it depends on your perception. It really does. So Neville goes on to say here that signs follow, they do not proceed. So proof that you are will follow the consciousness that you are. It will not precede it. So, oh wow, I shared this beautiful post of Neville's. He was referring to, and I hope I do this some justice. Uh, we got Lou there, still tuning in, hanging out with us. Andrew, hey Andrew, yeah. So, Neville's compares the outer world to a mirror. Everything in your life, your job, your money, your business success, people you attract, people in your life, everything. And you can't change a mirror. It just reflects back to you what you see. Exactly. And even breaking the mirror doesn't change anything. And he says, you must change yourself in order to change the reflection. So to change the outer world, you must change the inner world. And as you smile in that mirror, the mirror will smile back. So the question is, who are you becoming? And who do you choose to be? And I was blown away by that. But that's in perfect connection to what's being shared here. But, this chapter is about sleep. So what concept of yourself that you're putting into that mirror when you go to sleep, right? And he says, your dreams take form as you assume the feeling of their reality. So you have to feel it. You can't fool yourself, right? The conscious mind is the rational, intellectual mind, right? The subconscious is also known as the emotional, the feeling mind. So you have to really feel it as though it's done. And he says, do not limit yourself to the past. Wow, that is huge. How many of us limit ourselves from our past? I know, Alicia, I can talk for hours about how we let the past dictate our future. Do not limit yourself to the past. Never. Because that was the old you, right? That was the version of you back then. And so many of us continue to let that dictate who we are now. And this is one of my purpose. I had limiting beliefs for years, and I didn't know I had them. And it was subconscious conditioning. Lower income. I used to move around a lot. I was a short kid. I wanted to be extra funny so people would like me. I wanted to be athletic. It was so interesting. And when I look back, I'm like, wow, I did all these amazing things to feel better in that environment. So never let your past dictate your future. It's what you choose now. What you choose now, and utilize sleep as that gateway to the subconscious. I know I said a lot there, Alicia. I'm passing to you.
I'm writing like I was thank you. It was so good. I like so much here, and I I I when you say about the senses and the northern light, I need to explain that, because I was in the I am doing yeah, so it's like the our senses is like telling no, it's not, or we are believing what the senses are telling us, and we normally we don't discuss or challenge what we see, what they say. uh, I am doing a project in the very north of Sweden. It's very, very cold there. And I am, traveling to that place. And we were last week um, watching for the Northern Light. And the Northern Light is there, it's always is there. The problem is that when you are in the town, is so many lights that you cannot see that. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's because you need to go to a place where it's dark, in order to see the northern light. Because if it's so too much lights, you don't see that. And that made me think about also sometimes we need to go to, when we don't see these things and we see everything that is dark, it doesn't mean that our dreams are not, you know, there, that we can reach them. It means that we need to move to another position so that we can see more clearly. And this is very, very, uh, very important, so to think about. And I also think about the past, and the past is always, coming all the time. It will not leave you. I don't know. My past has lived in me, but it's like Yemel say, it 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 doesn't dictate my future. And this is, we need to be aware of that, because, for example, I have a conversation some days ago with a prospect or a future client, and then I get rejected. And then at the moment, I thought, okay, but then I started to feel something in my body, and then I sit down and I say, what is my feeling at the moment? And what is the reason I'm feeling that? And in that moment, I realized that Alicia, 5 years, was feeling rejected. Not Alicia as today, but Alicia, the younger Alicia, was feeling rejected. And because my path, I felt almost all my childhood, or also in the late 20s or something like that, I also felt very rejected. So I feel like the feelings about being rejected, and I think, okay, it's okay to feel rejected in my body, but it's not going to dictate how I will go from here. And I say, I'm so happy that I got rejected, because that person didn't rejected me. That person just rejected himself there. So it's not letting the past controlling me. But at the moment, it was like, let the feelings directed, and I didn't know what it was until I stepped down and, slowed down and started to discuss with myself in a meditation to get through the what was that was in the feeling that I was creating, because it was me creating that.
So good. So good. Oh, this is so I want to acknowledge some of the comments here. Andrew, yeah, he's saying a lot here. He says, you're right, Alicia. The past is always coming back to knock on your door, or always calling to try and lure you back to the old ways. It's important you don't answer that knock. Yeah, well said. And I remember you sharing this as well. Let your past be your compass, but never your anchor. Wow.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And
Yeah.
past, yeah. So you're sharing some great stuff here.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, your past never defined you who you are unless you let it, right?
Yeah. And that is very important, is not to try to avoid them, because then they will chase you. It's like, okay, I'm feeling this at the moment, embrace that, but don't let that, you know, control your day, your happiness, your joy. So, so
Yeah, absolutely. And just want to acknowledge a few more. You commented here, the universe reflects who you are. Yes, it's not what you want, it's who you are. It really is.
yeah.
And the mirror doesn't smile and then you smile. Yeah. So and you believe in the unseen and all the forces that are working in the universe, unseen universe. Yeah, exactly. So, I wanted to share, this is provoking some thought here. Remember, the conscious mind can accept or reject any thoughts. And this includes thinking of the past, right? So you can reject those negative thoughts. And remember, our past isn't always bad, right? We're talking about negative things that we either didn't like or didn't move us forward. So we're rejecting negative thoughts that bring our vibration down. I like to say letting them go, because rejection sounds like force sometimes. So I just let it go, and that's a big thing you do in meditation, is to be aware of your thoughts. You're basically letting them go. It's not like force. Force will always negate, and everything should be natural. So if you start thinking about the negatives of the past, you let it go and replace it with something else. And there's positives in the past as well, and that connects to your intellectual faculty of the memory. So you can use memory in a positive way. It's not always focusing on the negative aspect as well, because when you focus on things you achieved, your growth, you can utilize that into your present. And Neville shared something really powerful about the past and memory. I was listening to something, and he said, only time when you have a negative thought of the past, you're focusing on the negative aspect of it. And I was talking about revision. You can actually revise negative things from the past and see them differently, and it'll shape your present. I know I'm kind of going deep here, but it's similar to what Neville's talking about in sleep. Basically, when you're entering that subconscious door. So you can do that as well with your memory and negative things, from the past. But I won't go down that tangent. That's a whole nother thing that you can apply. But he says, knowing that nothing is impossible to consciousness. So if you watched a few episodes ago, we talked about everything is consciousness, right? Basically, everything's energy, and energy is never created or destroyed. It's in one form or the other. So it continuously flows and moves into unseen to seen, right? Spirit to physical matter, antimatter to matter, whatever. So knowing that nothing is impossible to consciousness, you have to have that knowing. Nothing is impossible for consciousness. Begin to imagine states beyond the experiences of the past, right? So begin to imagine states beyond the experience of the past. So you're using your imagination. That's the only thing, the only beautiful gift we have, really, to take us out of our current circumstances and conditions, is using the imagination effectively. And when I say effectively, is what is it you want to create, rather than using your imagination in a negative way. He says, whatever the mind of man can imagine, man can realize. So all objective, basically visible states were first subjective. They were invisible states. Bob always said everything's created twice. Once in the imagination or the unseen, and then in the seen. And you call them into visibility by assuming the feeling of their reality. So you want to assume the feeling of it, right? Who cares what's in your bank account? Assume the money's there, right? Assume you paid off whatever. Assume you have the home that you have, assume, right? You want to get really, really emotional about it. So the creative process is first imagining and then believing the state imagined. Always imagine and expect the best. Don't expect worse. Don't expect bad things. Expect the best. And, that is a creative process as well, right? Believing what you're imagining and not thinking it's just off the space somewhere. You're actually creating. And that's actually the creative method, rather than competitive. So I know I said a lot there as well. So I'll let you go there, Lisa.
I mean, like, No, it's so good, so good. Um, and to come into what you say about expect the best is that sometimes we don't expect the best because we uh, underestimate ourselves and overestimate the thing, the issue that we need to solve, or the 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 problem. What we say is the problem. So we underestimate our own power and overestimate whatever it is, and then we feel like, oh, I'm not so good, and then we are creating the the concept of ourselves. So this is very important, to believe in self, the assertiveness about ourself and our power within, that we are more powerful than what we think. And when challenge come, for me, it's like, when I have a challenge, it's like, oh, this is interesting, because this challenge make me think about what is the tool that I have inside me that I don't know that I have, and how can I use it, how can I use it to solve this challenge, so always thinking like, okay, what is next step now from the knowledge I have, the awareness I have, and the tools I have? How can I take the first step to that? Uh, and again, not letting the past uh, control me, because everything everything is have a positive side and a negative side. I normally say, like the magnet doesn't exist if it has not a positive side and negative side, and so is life. And everything, even if you win the lottery, something is positive and something is negative in that. So we need to learn that life is just, it's nothing. We not to put the etiquette. And in the past, as I told before, that sometimes we say, oh, this is the worst thing that happened to me. But some years later, you can say, this was the best things that happened to me, because they make me do some changes in my life. So the challenge that come to our life is not to break us down, is to create us, to get us to to what is in the word, I even remember the word, to discover what is inside me that I have not yet used it.
I love that. Oh, I love it. I love it. We're discovering ourselves,
Yeah.
and you shared some beautiful things there. Wow, we have
Thank you,
power.
Andrew. Andrew,
Yeah,
like it, the magnet. Yeah, it's there, It's
yeah,
life. Don't expect only the positive, because then it's not. Uh, it is a fantasy that is not there. It is only create uh, frustration when you expect everything to be positive, or you put the what you say that is positive. But when you something that you put in negative, ask yourself, what is the thing that I need to know now, that I already know, but I need to get to the surface so I can use yeah, to
right.
solve.
Yeah, that's so good. You're basically saying you have everything you need right now within you, and you really do. And you have power over it. You really do. You're creating all of this, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And let this kind of be a realization for you on this coach's corner. Yeah, it's so good, because we think this goal or this thing is bigger than ourselves sometimes. and that diminishes our belief about ourselves and what we're capable of creating. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. And the magnet, it's so powerful that you mentioned a magnet, because Neville Goddard talks about how magnetism is actually displayed, right? You can't create magnetism, and it's displayed on a scientific level. If all the molecules are facing in a kind of straight line or all in the same plane, I think it's all negatives or all positives, will make that magnet magnetize. Now, when the molecules are opposite, like negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, it's demagnetized. Nothing changed in that item or the metal, whatever. Is just displayed by order of the molecules. That's the same concept of who are you choosing to become when you go to sleep, or even in prayer, as we talk about what that is. So all you're doing is, like Alicia said, you're discovering oneself over and over again. And you're actually choosing as well. Because think about it, you chose those negative things in your life on a subconscious level. And like just what Alicia is saying, there's an opposite to everything. This was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was also the best thing. This is the power of perception, when you're able to see the other side. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't see it at the time, but now when I look back, I went through that so I can do this and do that and become this or achieve this, right? So powerful, being that you mentioned a magnet, because that allowed me to kind of see that you're displaying one thing or the other. Are you becoming a magnet, or are you repelling, right? Are you a magnet to what you want to create, or you're holding it away? That's so beautiful. So he says the world cannot change until you change your conception of it. As within, so without. So the world cannot change until you change your conception. How do you conceive the world? You see that you're creating it and it's working for you every day, or you think it's working against you, And there were times when I thought the world was working against me. Trust me. I was like, I'm doing everything right. What is happening? But it's as within. You are the source, So, and what's so beautiful, he says here, wow, you have no one to change but yourself. And you have neither opponent nor helper in bringing about the change within yourself. Well, we're helping you today. We're helping you understand, right? But this is a personal journey. That's why they call it personal growth, personal development. It's very personal. And now you're getting an understanding, right? And this is so good. The world cannot change until you change your conception. See, this reminds me of that quote. People don't resist change. They resist being changed, right? So you don't resist change. It's just being forced. So, like I said, force negates, and you want to change from within. As within, so without. And there's no opponent. I like that. Nor helper in bringing about the change within yourself. So there's no opponents. There's nothing stopping you but you. Let this really wake you up today, right? I got to give myself applause there because I'm getting excited.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I love that this about the change, and about also the personal development. And I have discussion with sometimes with people that say they don't want to go into the personal development because they say, yeah, but it's telling me that I am not good enough. And I say, no, the personal development is not about you not being good enough. It's about discovering and remembering who you really are. deep inside, beyond this body, your name, and all the paradigms that we have because somebody imposed us that, programming us in a way. So I always talk about also about that, and also about the change, and sometimes when we start the personal development, we start to change because we are leaving behind some behaviors that is not good enough for us, things that helped us to come where we are, but they are not helping us to come farther. So we need to change that. The problem is that you say everybody likes change, but nobody wants to change, and nobody wants to be changed, or nobody. Some people don't want to be changed, and somebody don't want to change, and some people start and then they meet the river of change. At the beginning it's a little bit discomfort about that, and then it's chaotic, and at the other side it's very nice to come to the other side of that river. The problem is that people, then they only come and put the toe on the water and say, oh, this is so not so good, that is discomforting me, and they go back to where they were, not because it is the right thing to do, but because it's familiar. So we go back to what is familiar, not what we feel like, is so discomforting to change that they want to stay there. And and I also like it when you say the world cannot change until you change. And this is what we do with personal development. We change not to be another person, but to discover ourselves. And one of the problems that is that we are always judgment. You judge things. And for example, I was talking to a friend of mine, and in November, and November is one of the darkest months here in Sweden, or at least where I live, is one of the darkest months. And she say, "Oh, now it's November coming, and it's so bad, and this." And I say, and because she's judging, the judgment of the November is creating discomfort in her and frustration. And I say, wow, I like November because it's dark, it's raining, and what happened? Yeah, you can sit at home with a book and some candles, and take care of you, and so we have two different judgments of November. And how we judge things is what create a feeling in us. And then if we judge that, oh, this day was bad, and then we go to sleep with that judgment, oh, this is not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's all about awareness, right? And if you're not in the moment and aware of how you're seeing things, it creates your future. So powerful. And personal development, I like how you're saying you're discovering who you are, right? And both of us, we have many people we help, and I see it. I see in people that version that tests the water and jumps out, or that person that stays in the water a little while. Oh, it's too hot or too cold, and then they get out again. And then there's those that get in there, and they're in the shallow end. They're walking, and then they just go deeper and deeper. And then they're swimming in the deep oceans, right? So, everyone has varying degrees of allowing oneself to remember who they are. And this is basically what we're kind of talking about here with this chapter. This entire book is tools to help you remember who you are, really. And the more you apply this consistently and you believe it, you'll start seeing the results, the outer world change. I get excited. Lou mentioned she gets excited when she goes to sleep because she's now, well, she's excited to create, knowing this type of knowledge. And it's very beneficial because we all want to grow, right? We want to be more, do more, have more things, but there is a price to pay. And this is part of it, understanding yourself. And of course, you know, I said the best thing to do is investing in yourself, right? This is, you know, we get on every Sunday. This is just a small part of how deep you can go with understanding this and applying it. So, you know, obviously, Alicia and I, you know, definitely want to help you. You know, if this spoke to you today, make sure you just reach out to us, send us a message. You know, we always love hearing from new people, or just schedule a call and see what we do, if it could be helpful for you, because this knowledge is just so beautiful. I love it. I can read it all day, but there's a conditioning. Or are you just going to keep reading and keep watching videos, or are you going to actually, you know, take that next step into this unseen world you're creating that you always wished and hoped for, you know, and really, really make a committed decision to become a higher version of yourself. So, Lisa, you have any closing remarks there?
Yeah, you know, I when you say about the price to pay and investing in yourself, people think it's about money. You know, the money is a tiny, tiny investment, because the biggest price to pay is letting go of what is not serving you. And sometimes we defend things that we do, behaviors that is not good for us, you know, things that thoughts that we don't is not good for us, beliefs, you know, because we are not willing to pay the price to letting it go. Because if you let it go, then you say, but then who I am? And then the identity that you have created all the time is suddenly not there. And it's why so many people is like, you know, thinking that the price to pay is just money. No, it's the energy, it's the time, and it's the willingness to letting go of the past and the behaviors and the beliefs that are not serving to you and to your future.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for today.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.